A castle has been attacked 26 times, 26 sieges, more than any fortress in British history, and yet it still stands, towering over one of Europe's most beautiful cities like a crown of volcanic stone. You've probably seen Edinburgh Castle in photos, that iconic silhouette perched on Castle Rock. What you haven't seen is the blood-soaked drama that unfolded within its walls for over 1,000 years. Think of it as Scotland's version of the Iron Throne. Except the battles were real, the casualties were staggering, and the fortress never bent the knee. But here's what makes Edinburgh Castle truly extraordinary. It's not just the oldest building in Edinburgh, it's not just a military stronghold. It's the place where Scotland's identity was forged in fire, where kings were born in closets, where prisoners tunneled through solid rock, and where one woman held off an entire English army while heavily pregnant. This castle doesn't just tell Scotland's story, it is Scotland's story, written in stone and siege warfare. Edinburgh Castle sits on Castle Rock, a volcanic plug that erupted 350 million years ago. Let that sink in. Before dinosaurs, before trees, this chunk of basalt was spat from the Earth's core and cooled into the perfect defensive position, a cliff-sided fortress that nature designed before humans even existed. The rock rises over 400 feet above the city. Three sides are sheer cliffs, impossible to climb, impossible to breach. The only approach is a narrow ridge from the east, and that became the famous Royal Mile, the cobblestone spine connecting the castle to Holyrood Palace. When Iron Age tribes first settled here around 850 BC, they weren't stupid, they recognized perfection when they saw it. Archaeological evidence shows continuous occupation for nearly 3,000 years, making this one of the longest inhabited sites in Scotland. The Romans came, saw this fortress, and wisely decided to leave it alone. Even the empire that conquered half the known world looked at Castle Rock and said, "Not worth it." The first recorded castle structure appeared around the 12th century under King David I, though fortifications existed long before. David built a wooden stronghold that gradually transformed into stone, the medieval equivalent of upgrading from a tent to a mansion. But unlike most castles that were built by choice, Edinburgh Castle was built by necessity. This wasn't a vanity project, this was survival architecture. Let's talk about St. Margaret's Chapel, the oldest surviving building in Edinburgh, built around 1130 by King David I to honor his mother, Queen Margaret. This tiny Norman chapel, and I mean tiny, barely 20 feet long, has survived every siege, every bombardment, every attempt to reduce the castle to rubble. While armies raged outside, this chapel remains standing. It's like the universe itself decided this one building was off limits. During the Lang Siege of 1573, when the castle was pounded by artillery for days, buildings crumbled all around it. St. Margaret's Chapel didn't even crack. But the real drama happened in a room called the Royal Palace. Specifically, in a chamber so small you'd struggle to fit a modern queen-size bed inside. This is where Mary, Queen of Scots, gave birth to James VI in 1566. The future King of Scotland and England, the man who would unite two kingdoms, was born in what amounts to a medieval closet. Mary was 24, unmarried in the eyes of Protestant Scotland, politically isolated, and she gave birth in Edinburgh Castle because it was the only place she felt safe. The room was hung with tapestries, nobles crowded outside, and when the baby emerged healthy,
Mary allegedly held him up to the witnesses and said, "I have borne him, and God knows with what danger to him and me both." That baby would become James I of England, commissioning the King James Bible and ruling over the golden age of English literature. Shakespeare performed for him, and it all started in that cramped chamber in Edinburgh Castle.
You want to know what's worth more than gold to a nation? It's crown jewels. Edinburgh Castle houses the honours of Scotland, the oldest crown jewels in Britain, predating England's by decades. The crown was made in 1540 for James V. Solid gold, encrusted with Scottish pearls and gemstones. The scepter and sword of state date back even further, to the late 15th century, gifts from various popes to Scottish kings. These aren't just shiny decorations. They represent Scottish sovereignty, independence, and the legitimacy of the monarchy. And they were nearly lost forever. When Oliver Cromwell invaded Scotland in 1651, he wanted to destroy these symbols of monarchy. The honors were smuggled out of Edinburgh Castle just before it fell, hidden in a church, buried under floorboards. For 9 years they stayed buried. After the restoration of the monarchy, they were locked in a chest in Edinburgh Castle and forgotten for over a century. In 1818, Sir Walter Scott, yes, the famous novelist, received permission to search for them. He found the chest in a locked room, unopened since 1707. When they cracked it open, there they were, the crown, scepter, and sword perfectly preserved. Scotland's heritage rescued from obscurity by a writer who understood that stories matter. Today, over 1 million visitors a year queue to see them. They're displayed in the royal palace alongside the Stone of Destiny, the ancient coronation stone of Scottish kings, which England borrowed for 700 years before returning it in 1996.
The year is 1571. Scotland is tearing itself apart in a civil war between supporters of Mary, Queen of Scots, and supporters of her infant son, James VI. Mary has been forced to abdicate and is imprisoned in England. Most of Scotland has accepted her son as king. Most, but not all. Sir William Kirkcaldy of Grange holds Edinburgh Castle for Mary. He's one of Scotland's greatest soldiers, a man who fought in countless battles and never lost his nerve. When everyone else abandoned Mary's cause, Kirkcaldy stood firm. The problem? He was defending an indefensible position against an impossible situation. For 2 years he held out, 2 years of blockade, starvation, and increasing desperation. The castle garrison dwindled, supplies ran out, but Kirkcaldy wouldn't surrender. In 1573, Queen Elizabeth I of England decided enough was enough. She sent artillery, not just any artillery, massive siege guns that could punch through medieval stone walls like they were paper. The bombardment lasted for 12 days, 12 days of relentless cannon fire that reduced much of the castle to rubble. The Half Moon Battery, one of the castle's most distinctive features today, was built on the rubble of David's Tower, which collapsed during this siege. Massive stones, construction that had stood for 400 years, reduced to dust and debris. Kirkcaldy finally surrendered. He was hanged for treason, and Edinburgh Castle underwent its most devastating destruction in history, all because one man's loyalty outlasted common sense.
Walk through Edinburgh Castle today, and you'll encounter Mons Meg. This isn't just a cannon. This is a medieval howitzer, a weapon so powerful that firing it was considered a major event.
Built in 1449 in Mons, Belgium, hence the name, this siege gun could fire a 330-pound stone cannonball over 2 miles. To put that in perspective, that's like launching a baby grand piano through the air using gunpowder. The barrel is 13 feet long. The whole weapon weighs over 6 tons. Kings used Mons Meg for celebrations, firing it during weddings and births. But in 1681, during a salute for the Duke of Albany, the barrel burst. The gun was damaged beyond repair. Rather than scrap it, the castle kept it as a monument to medieval engineering and Scottish military pride. Here's the kicker. In 1754, the English government removed Mons Meg and took it to the Tower of London as a trophy. It stayed there for 70 years until Sir Walter Scott, again the novelist, campaigned for its return. In 1829, Mons Meg came home to Edinburgh Castle, where it remains as one of the castle's most popular attractions.
Prison escapes from Edinburgh Castle are legendary. The sheer cliffs made escape seem impossible. Therefore, anyone who attempted it had to be either brilliant or insane. In 1341, the Earl of Moray and his men disguised themselves as merchants and entered the castle with a wagon. The wagon's axle, conveniently, broke right under the gate. While guards tried to move it, Moray's soldiers, hidden nearby, stormed in. The castle fell in minutes. It's like an Ocean's 11 heist, except with swords and everyone in medieval armor. But the most audacious escape happened in 1314. The castle was under English control during the Wars of Scottish Independence. A Scottish soldier named William Francis had grown up in the castle and knew every stone. He'd used a secret route to visit his girlfriend in the town below, a treacherous climb down the north face that should have been impossible. On a dark night, Francis led 30 men down that same route. They climbed up, surprised the English garrison, and recaptured Edinburgh Castle for Robert the Bruce. A secret boyfriend path became a military victory. Love literally conquered all. Then there's the French prisoners during the 7 Years' War. 49 French soldiers imprisoned in the castle spent months digging a tunnel through solid rock using nothing but broken tools and stolen implements. They worked in shifts, hiding the excavated rock in their bedding, disposing of it whenever possible. The tunnel stretched over 100 feet. The night came for the escape. 49 men crawled through. Most made it to the castle walls, but someone raised the alarm. Guards caught them rappelling down the cliffs. The French prisoners were dragged back and the tunnel was sealed. However, here's the twist. During renovations in the 1980s, workers rediscovered that tunnel. It's still there, a testament to desperation, ingenuity, and the universal desire for freedom.
Every day except Sunday at exactly 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Edinburgh Castle fires a gun. Tourists jump, locals check their watches, and Edinburgh continues a tradition that started in 1861. Why 1 o'clock? Why not noon like everywhere else? Money. Firing at noon would require 12 chimes, matching the clock, 12 rounds of ammunition. But firing at 1 o'clock? Just one shot! The Victorian military mindset at its finest. Tradition, but make it economical. The original purpose was to allow ships in the Firth of Forth, the nearby waterway, to set their maritime chronometers. Accurate time was essential for navigation. Before radio signals, this daily gun provided an audible time check that could be heard for miles. Today, it's fired by active duty soldiers, and it's one of the world's oldest time signals still in operation. Over a century and a half of daily explosions, and tourists still flinch every single time.
Behind the castle's walls lies a small, overlooked cemetery. No humans are buried here, only dogs, specifically the pets of soldiers stationed at the castle. The cemetery dates back to the Victorian era, when officers began burying their beloved companions on castle grounds. Small headstones mark the graves. Names like Jess, Dobler, and Victoria are carved into stone. Some have touching epitaphs, a faithful friend. It's a reminder that Edinburgh Castle wasn't just a fortress, it was home. Soldiers lived here for years, decades even. Their dogs weren't just pets, they were family, companions through the loneliness of military life. The cemetery isn't on the main tourist route. You have to look for it. But when you find it, standing among those small graves, you realize that history isn't just about kings and battles. It's also about the small, personal stories that make us human.
Edinburgh Castle served as a military prison for centuries, holding everyone from common criminals to high-value prisoners of war. During the American Revolution, American prisoners were held here. During the Napoleonic Wars, French soldiers filled the dungeons. The prison vaults beneath the Great Hall held hundreds of men in conditions that were, by modern standards, inhumane. Dark, cold, damp stone walls that never saw sunlight. Prisoners scratched messages into the doors and walls. Some can still be seen today. Names, dates, desperate pleas that echo across centuries. But the castle wasn't entirely cruel. Prisoners were sometimes allowed to make crafts to earn money. Intricate bone models of ships, carved from leftover meat bones, were sold to locals. Some of these models are displayed in the National Museum of Scotland today. Incredible works of art created by men who had nothing but time and bone fragments. One American prisoner, John Paul Jones, the father of the American Navy, was nearly imprisoned here but escaped capture. Had he been caught, the history of the American Revolution might have been very different.
You can't have 1,000 years of violence, death, and suffering without collecting a few ghosts. Edinburgh Castle is considered one of the most haunted places in Scotland. The most famous spirit is the Headless Drummer. Since the 1650s, people have reported seeing a phantom drummer boy, sometimes headless, beating his drum as he walks the battlements. Legend says he appears before the castle is attacked or during times of impending disaster. Before the Lang Siege, witnesses reported seeing him. Before the Jacobite Rising, he appeared again. Then there's the Lone Piper. In the 1700s, authorities discovered secret tunnels beneath the Royal Mile, connecting the castle to Holyrood Palace. They sent a piper into the tunnels, playing his pipes so people above could trace the route. The music traveled down the Royal Mile, growing fainter, then suddenly stopped near Tron Kirk. The piper was never seen again. To this day, people claim to hear phantom bagpipe music echoing from beneath the castle. Visitors report cold spots in the dungeons, shadowy figures in the vaults, the feeling of being watched in empty corridors. In 2001, a scientific study documented over 200 paranormal experiences reported by tourists and staff. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, there's something undeniably eerie about walking through those ancient stone passages, knowing how many died within those walls.
So, you want to visit? Here's what you need to know. Edinburgh Castle is open year-round, except Christmas Day and Boxing Day. Tickets cost around £30 for adults, and booking online in advance is essential. This is Scotland's most visited paid attraction, with over 2 million visitors annually. Show up without a ticket during summer, and you'll wait in line for hours. Arrive early. The castle opens at 9:30,
and the first hour is the least crowded. You'll have the honors of Scotland, St. Margaret's Chapel, and the Great Hall almost to yourself. Wear comfortable shoes. The castle is built on a volcanic rock, remember? That means steep climbs, uneven surfaces, and lots of stairs. Those Instagram photos don't show you the breathless climb to reach them. Don't miss the National War Museum, often overlooked by rushed tourists. It chronicled Scottish military history from medieval times to the present, with fascinating artifacts and personal stories. Plan for 3 to 4 hours minimum. Edinburgh Castle isn't a quick photo stop. It's a complex of multiple buildings, museums, and historical sites. Rush through and you'll miss the best parts. The views are extraordinary. From the battlements, you can see across Edinburgh to the Firth of Forth, Arthur's Seat, and the modern city sprawling below. On clear days, the panorama stretches for miles. It's the kind of view that makes you understand why people fought so hard for this position. Visit the Crown Room when it's less busy, usually mid-morning before tour groups arrive. The honors of Scotland deserve time and contemplation, not a rushed shuffle past. And stay for the 1 o'clock gun. Even if you know it's coming, even if you're expecting it, the concussion of that cannon will make your bones rattle. It's a daily reminder that this castle is still active, still functional, still very much alive.
Edinburgh Castle has witnessed Scotland's entire history. Every triumph, every tragedy, every moment of glory and despair played out within or beneath those walls. It's where kings were born and queens took refuge. It's where prisoners tunneled through rock and soldiers held impossible positions. It's where Scotland's crown jewels were hidden, lost, and found again. It's where chapels survived sieges, where dogs were buried with honor, and where ghosts walked the battlements of eternity. 26 sieges, more than any fortress in British history, and yet Edinburgh Castle still stands, still dominates the skyline, still serves as Scotland's most potent symbol. You came here for castle history. What you discovered is something deeper. Edinburgh Castle isn't just a tourist attraction. It's not just a collection of old buildings. It's the physical manifestation of Scottish resilience, independence, and defiance. Every stone tells a story. Every wall remembers. And when you stand on those battlements looking out across the city, you're standing where kings stood, where soldiers fought, where history was made not in abstract dates and distant places, but right here, right under your feet. That's Edinburgh Castle. That's why 1 million people a year climb that volcanic rock to walk through its gates, not for the gift shop or the Instagram moment, but to touch something eternal, something that refused to fall no matter how many times it was struck down. Scotland's story written in stone and siege warfare, and it's waiting for you.